So, what if I told you that the greatest opportunities you've been searching for aren't in some far-off place, but they're right under your feet? Today, we're going to dive into a century-old idea called Acres of Diamonds. It's a really powerful story that honestly might just change where you look for success. You know that feeling, right? That little voice that whispers, if only. If only you lived in a different city, had a different job, or were just somewhere else. Well, that feeling, that whole grass is greener idea, is the engine behind the story we're about to get into. The best way to really get this concept is through a story. A story so powerful that the guy who told it, Russell Conwell, gave the speech over 6,000 times. It's a classic tale about ambition, and it's also a masterclass in irony. Okay, so our story starts with a guy named Ali Hafid. Picture this. He's a farmer, he's wealthy, and he wakes up every morning looking at his own thriving fields with his family right there beside him. He wasn't just rich in money, he was rich in contentment. He really had everything he could possibly want.
But you know how it is. Contentment can be a pretty fragile thing. One day, a visiting priest stops by and plants this little seed of an idea in his head. He starts talking about diamonds, these glittering stones, so incredibly valuable, he said, that with just a handful, you could buy the whole country.
And that was it. Ali Hafid went to bed that night a poor man. Not because he'd lost any of his money, but because he'd lost his contentment. This idea of far-off riches just completely consumed him. So what does he do? He sells the farm, leaves his family with a neighbor, and heads off on this grand worldwide quest for diamonds. So he wanders all over the place, through Palestine, across Europe, looking everywhere for these shiny rocks he'd heard so much about. But he finds absolutely nothing. Eventually the money runs out, his hope is gone, and in a moment of total despair, he throws himself into the sea and drowns. A really tragic end to his search. But hold on, the story is far from over. In fact, this is where the real lesson actually begins. So let's rewind and go back to that farm Ali Hafid sold. Meanwhile, back at the old farm, the new owner is just going about his business. He's leading his camel down to the stream for a drink when a little glint of light in the sand catches his eye. He digs out this weird, heavy rock and thinks, that's kind of cool looking, and he just puts it on his fireplace mantle as a decoration. A little while later, that very same priest comes back for a visit. He walks in, sees the stone on the mantle, and he just freezes. He knows exactly what it is. It's a diamond. They race down to the stream, and there, buried in the sand, they find more and more. Ali Hafid's old farm was, in fact, the legendary Golconda mine, a literal field of diamonds. He had been standing on an unimaginable fortune and sold it all for nothing to go look for it somewhere else. So that's the whole point right there. Ali Hafid was standing on his own fortune, and he just couldn't see it. And this incredible story is the foundation for a whole philosophy about finding success. And the man who made this story famous was Russell Conwell. He gave this lecture, as I said, over 6,000 times back in the day. And get this, he used the money he earned from it to found Temple University. Pretty incredible, right? And this one quote really gets to the heart of the whole thing. The message isn't stop dreaming, not at all. It's start digging. It's about stopping that constant search over the horizon and instead starting to look at the ground right under your own feet. At your community, at your job, at the skills you already have. But for Conwell, this was way more than just a nice little fable. He saw this exact pattern playing out in the real world, over and over again, and he had some powerful examples from his own time to prove it. He would tell the story about the man who sold his ranch in California, right before the gold rush kicked off on that same piece of land. And he'd talk about a farmer in Pennsylvania who sold his property for just $833, only for the new owners to discover oil that was worth millions. It's the same pattern, again and again. But Conwell's message goes even deeper than finding actual gold or diamonds. He was really talking about how to achieve true greatness, how to create real value in the world. Now, this part is really interesting. Conwell would tackle that old saying, money is the root of all evil. He'd clarify that the Bible actually says the love of money is the root of all evil, not money itself. He argued that money is just a tool. It's power. And it's a noble thing to earn it honestly, so you can use that power to do more good. He believed that true greatness doesn't come from being born into a wealthy family or making some huge dramatic gesture. Nope. He said it comes from ordinary people in their own communities who see a need and figure out a way to meet it. That's how fortunes are really built, and that's how lives are improved. So your acres of diamonds are really just the problems you can solve for the people around you. Every unmet need, every frustration you hear about, every gap in the market, those are all opportunities. They're just waiting for someone to start digging. Okay, so if our diamonds are the needs of our community, the next logical question is, how do we actually start digging? How do we take this timeless idea and apply it to our own modern lives? Listening to the story is the easy part. The real challenge and the real opportunity is training our eyes to see the value that's already in front of us. It's a simple but really profound shift in mindset, from looking out there to looking right here. So here's the practical takeaway. First, you have to learn what people actually need. Listen to their complaints, find their pain points. Second, start right where you are. Don't fall into the trap of thinking you need to move or change everything first. Third, use the tools, skills, and knowledge you already have. And finally, stop waiting for some perfect opportunity to just appear out of nowhere. The best place to start is almost always right here and right now. So we'll leave you with the same challenge that Conwell left his audiences with over a century ago. Look around you, at your job, in your community, at your own untapped skills. What problems are just waiting there for your unique solution? What value is hiding in plain sight? Because that right there, that's your acres of diamonds.